Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
What's up, man? Happy
How are
Friday.
you? Happy Friday.
I like that we do this on Fridays. I don't know if it helps our listenership, if people are kind of tuning out and they're like, I want to end my week with Conrad and Guy, or if it's the opposite. But I like the Fridays. It's nice summer, moving into the summer. It's
Yeah, they're probably like, it's bad enough I got to listen to them on my regular scheduled time.
All right. Well, sir, I have got context for our first question. Okay.
I love context. Context is everything.
Context. Okay. And that's true. I was going to print these shirts that says data without context is just numbers. Did I ever give you that one? I like this concept.
You have. We've talked about that at length, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Data without context is just numbers. And context without insight is useless. Okay. So I'm going to give the context and then we're going to flash the question up from there. But this is from an email question that came into me. The Wall Street Journal reported that Google is starting to use AI summaries at the top of search results and will be phasing it in across the board over the next few months. My question is rather obvious, or at least I think so. Does this put quality content back at the top for SEO purposes?
When was quality content at the top? Sorry, you're not done yet?
No, I think that's
keep going.
I think that's a fair question. No, let's stop. No, let's stop right there. Does this put quality content back at the top for SEO purposes? Guy, what do you think?
I mean, I look at a lot of search results, and where Google's going, what they say they're doing, and what they're doing today aren't all the same. But I'll tell you, in legal, for head terms, get in Forbes, because Forbes ranks for everything. Look, local pack, sure. The forum discussion and forums are still popping.
Reddit.
And then traditional organic is, there's definitely some law firms in there, but there's a lot of directories and there's a lot of Forbes in there right now. And again, this is exactly my interpretation. So if I'm wrong, I could be very easily wrong because I'm not that smart. But my sense is that this was part of the domain reputation abuse stuff, and it's not hitting everything. It's definitely not hit Forbes's advisor subdirectory, in my experience. It's not hitting some of the. I've seen Newsweek pop up. Best personal injury lawyers.
Newsweek
by Newsweek. Yeah, Newsweek.com.
Well, so I mean, this is interesting.
Is that great content? You tell me. And a lot of people respond and say, well, it's ranking because that's what people want. Is that because they're disproportionately clicking on Forbes listings when they do these searches? Because Forbes is a trusted brand. Like it's Google enough. That's user clickstream data stuff. That's what we think Reddit's been benefiting from. But man, like when you're searching for a lawyer, people are clicking Forbes because they know Forbes, I guess. That's what they're going to tell you.
When does Forbes lose authority? I mean, this has been a long time.
Well,
right?
Again, they're trying to do it on a page subdirectories type basis, right? That's why they nuked the I think in preparation. I don't know what the status of this, but Forbes preemptively removed or whatever. I don't know if they removed it or de-indexed it, but their coupon section.
They got actually. There was a big outrage. I remember this was about 12 months ago where they were talking about getting rid of content, right? We can come back to that theme in order
they're trying to grow a website. They're trying to grow a website. So
now
in fairness to Forbes, they are trying to grow a website because
that's the whole point. It's
money.
Yeah. So they were dumping some of their bad quality content, and that was a memo, I believe, an internal memo that leaked, and then there was a lot of negative press around that. I have a question. I mean, my answer on this is, and this goes to the directory thing, but does this put quality content back at the top for SEO purposes? One of the things that and by the way, this is at this point in time. I don't think I'm speaking anecdotally, Guy. I think you are speaking anecdotally. I don't think we have studies on this because
studies on what part?
On what's driving these summaries, right? And so when we've done this in the past, and it varies, but we did find kind of these lower quality directories. Like if we found plenty of examples where it was like best lawyers in Milwaukee, and it was using directories from like best lawyer directories, right? And so we talked about directories being more and more important. Now, I'm specifically talking about a admittedly high value query, but it's a very specific query when we're talking about directories. But we have talked about the importance, or maybe perhaps the reemergence of the importance and relevance of directories that are creating these top 10 lists, right? That's a very specific question, but it's a high value query, and if you can play that game, you start to win. So I do think that's fascinating.
Here,
go.
Can I share something?
You can try.
We're gonna get for people who showed up, you're gonna get a super cool tool here. This is by James McNulty. By the way, super smart guy. You should follow him on LinkedIn if you're into this. But if you're a do-it-yourselfer, this booklet that he created, bookmarklet, super easy. I'll drop it into the various I'm putting in the comments just for because people showed up. They get it. They're in the comments. You probably
you want to put on the screen? You know how to put it on the screen?
Put it on the screen. Did I put it on the screen? I thought it's on the screen.
So down at the bottom, click present.
I did.
Just gonna help you out. I'm gonna walk. You click present.
Yeah.
And then find the little doodad underneath our video feed that has the two profiles on the left and the square in the middle. You did that? We're not sharing?
Yep.
Hold on.
Let me see it on mine. It says stop screen. It says it's sharing it.
All right. But you've moved
maybe
over
it's not sharing for you. Maybe it's not sharing for you.
No,
I don't know.
I don't
anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this. This thing.
We're gonna stop.
This thing's awesome.
Watch us learn StreamYard.
This thing's awesome, by the way, because what it does is it's a bookmarklet. When you've got the AI overview, formerly SG result up, you click this bookmarklet, and it scrapes all the sources from the AI overview, so you can see what sources drove the result. Pretty sweet. All
right. That was pretty sweet. The question that we did not get to yet was, according to Todd, pretty obvious. But the question was, should he start refocusing on Q&A type content to start showing up better in those AI generated summaries? What do you think?
I mean, look, you're going to see, I've already seen this. There are some law firm websites that are sourced in both AI overviews in Google as well as in Gemini. So your content matters for what they're sourcing, but it tends to be highly authoritative sites. There's also, this is a separate thing that I don't know how to answer this for folks, or I don't know if this is necessarily relevant for everybody. People have noticed that sites that have gotten hit by the helpful content update are not getting filtered in Gemini. And so so what that means is there are different, they're producing the result. We know they're producing the result in a different way, but some of the search filters that they're adding to search results do not apply in Gemini. So, question, can you content your way into Gemini? I think you have to authority you have to authority your way into Gemini. And, I think, look, I'm always like, mark it up as much as you can, because if the more the machines can understand about your content, the better, in my view. But Gemini results is mostly Google Maps, and most of the lab. So I haven't, Conrad, you can give us an update too. I haven't seen in an incognito window, I have not seen legal AI overviews in the wild. I saw one that was doing was one person was claiming that they had one, and I was like, no, you're logged into the lab experience. Now we've seen a lot of them in other, and I believe me, I've been plugging away at like some like, because they claim that they're limited to more complicated prompts, but I have done some complicated legal ones. I cannot get it to trigger an AI overview, and I think maybe they're slow rolling it for YMYL, maybe, if that's a thing. Your money, your life queries, because they
said they were no rolling it for that, right?
They did. They
So
said that. But they didn't say that. Did they say that in the most recent? They didn't say that at IO.
I don't believe so, but that was an early line in the sand that no one believed, because in labs you could create it, right? So
you're seeing it. You are seeing it for your life. You are seeing it for medical stuff. So they're at least rolling. I mean, everybody's been joking around because there's been a couple that have been like pretty bad. I think also too, and this came up. This is more of like philosophical stuff, but you remember our good friend Eric Goldman? He wrote a great article on whether Section 230 applies to AI generative content, and the Congressional Resource Service also wrote a really good, interesting overview. And short version, it's not exactly clear, because Section 230 protection, if they're the creator and the distributor of the content, you don't get the same protections you do as just a platform.
I don't think you get. Listen. I'm not a Section 230 lawyer, but I don't. If you're the creator of that content,
but are they the creator? Is the AI the creator, or is it just regurgitating based on fancy math other people's stuff?
Well, so the question is the AI creator the creator, right? I mean, right. We're getting very existential at this point in time.
Well, is the AI itself, is that tool actually, in the way that we think about creation, actually creating content?
Yes, this is. The question was Dr. Jekyll, Mr.
Have a nice weekend. Have a good weekend.
Who was guilty? Yeah, goodbye. Go do some mushrooms and think about, is the creator the creator? And Section 230. No. So let me continue on this question, because we get really specific. Actually, I wanted to, Adam, we just had one that popped up about the directories. Before we lose that, the question was about what did I miss about directories? I want to answer that very quickly. One of the things that we saw early on with AI generated results, this is from Nick. AI generated results was when you were doing searches for best lawyer, top 10 divorce lawyers in Topeka, or whatever it might be, the directories were being cited regularly, and not necessarily the directories that we know and think of. There were some random directories out there, and the advice that we gave was, go run those queries and try and figure out what the LLMs are ingesting, where they are ingesting their information from, and start playing that game, right? Which is
it's also inconsistent, like same query.
Well, that was where I was going to go. So it's a little bit like chasing Mercury.
In fact, someone much smarter than me, he's an SEO named Ryan Jones, and I think he's actually writing about this. But it goes to the sourcing for Gemini, and presumably for the AI overviews, as a process, occurs after the result has already been generated. So they come up with the result, and then they go cross-reference the LLM, or maybe they do searches on the Google database for. So it depends on what comes up from that. So that activity of actually finding the sources, it's not that they're going to the source and getting the information. They're creating the answer, and then they're trying to figure out what's the best source of information for that answer. Like, what?
Interesting. This is like my 8th grader doing math when they say show your work, and he does the answer and then has to backfill the show your work part. Interesting.
That's right.
That's fascinating.
Now, I will say this on Gemini. Gemini is, in my experience, for the lower funnel, traditional best practice, best accident lawyer near me type stuff, is mapping. It's pulling from Google Maps. In fact, it says that the source is Google Maps, and so it's local pack. Be in that local pack, folks.
Spam
But,
reviews.
where ads are going to show, spam reviews, where the ads are
For
going to
fun
show,
and
how
profit.
LSAs are going to work with this. Another thing on the AI overviews thing, and again, for me, and I don't want to spend our whole time talking about AI overviews since we can't find any anyway, but so far, a lot of them they've removed the follow-up prompts, which I thought that was going to be the bigger game changer when we were testing it in the lab, is that it changes the search journey. It changes the searcher's behavior. And I think there's some other things that they're going to be doing that are going to be more impactful on searcher behavior. And so really what we're saying is you got to get out of the mindset of keywords. You got to think about if you're this, I hate to use the word, but if you're this search user persona, what types of things are you searching along your journey, not just the single keyword anymore? What's the follow-up question? What's the follow-up prompt? What do you want to know after this?
All right, Guy, we're going to move on. Spam reviews. What is this you speak of? Oh, it's Jason Brown.
Hey, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Also, Jason is probably right. I don't, Jason said Section 230 is outdated. It's got problems. I don't know that it's working this. I don't know. AI seems to be breaking a lot of stuff, so who knows?
Including spam reviews. Yeah, don't do that, please.
If you
don't do that unless you would like to meet my friend Jason Brown.
You can accelerate your number of fake reviews by using AI.
Do you and don't.
What's the question? What's the question? Spam reviews. What is this you speak of?
I think Jason is merely calling attention to spam reviews and our perspective that is a really bad idea and an increasingly dangerous game to play. Okay, I'm going to switch up a little bit and ask the next question. Okay. Mm-hmm. This deals with your post yesterday about LSA leads being sold multiple times. Given this development, am I better off putting my ad dollars into pay-per-click and shutting down the LSAs? Boy, oh boy, could we have a field day with this. Great question. So, Guy, can you clarify what the questioner is asking about? And we will then get into the nitty-gritty.
Questioner's saying, can you hear me?
Yeah, you go. You're good.
The questioner is asking, now that Google is reselling reselling messaging leads multiple times, and it's a race to the phone to try to close it. That's likely going to drive the cost per client number up. And so should I, instead of using LSAs, because the cost per client number is getting higher, should I go to pay-per-click? And my answer is you should do that math, do that analysis. Is your cost per client from LSAs higher than it is for your paid media? And what's the volume difference? Are you able to generate? You got to have comparable volume comparison because, sure, you can drive it. And to me, anyway, I hope the answer is that you should analyze that. You should know what the cost per case is for LSAs, and maybe do a blended on paid, even though, it's not apples for apples. You got to make sure you're also looking at, like, are you segmenting brand, non-brand? You can't segment brand, non-brand in LSAs unless you turn it off. But if you have it off and you aren't bidding on brand terms in paid, you're looking at non-brand versus non-brand, then you might have isolated enough variables, and then do the math on the cost per client. My experience and hunches, LSA still was going to win.
So I'll give you this. I think the premise of moving from one channel to another, moving a budget from one channel to another, especially when it comes to LSAs and pay-per-click, is a bit problematic. And the biggest reason I say that with regards to LSAs is they're so frenetic and mercurial as to whether or not they show up that typically it's hard to say, I'm going to spend $5,000 here and then I'm going to move it over there because it may not come back. So it's really hard, which is making the budgeting process for a marketing channel basically impossible. And I would look at this differently at a high level. If the cost per client for the other, the other part of the backstory is you never know what kind of volume you're going to get through LSAs. Sometimes it's 0. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, we need to hire another attorney. And so to me, if the cost per
Here's
client,
my question. Can I give you, I love where you're going with this. Can I give you, let's tighten it up. I got 10 grand to spend. I got 10 grand to spend between LSAs and paid ads.
That's the wrong question. That's the problem. That is the problem with the premise. If you have a defined budget, hold on. If you have a defined, specific, allocated budget, the answer is you spend that money where the cost per client is the lowest, and you can spend the full 10 grand. That's the right. And that 10 grand is below your threshold of acceptable cost per client.
Right.
I think that's the wrong. What I'm trying to say is the premise of having a 10,000, a defined,
you're
specific,
like spend unlimited amounts of money everywhere.
If you can spend on local service ads and they're generating business for you and I think he's right. Yeah. Anecdotally, the costs are lower. I'd be all in. And especially right now, if you opt out of the brand and you opt out of messaging and you can spend, that is going to be your lowest cost per client that you can get within LSAs. That's a way to get the lowest cost per client in LSAs. Now, I'm assuming there's volume there, so just acknowledge that is potentially a fallacious assumption. His perspective is they may just turn you off completely if you do that.
Not completely,
but you may, right? So we'll see. That's probably going to generate more business for you on pay-per-click, right? And so in this kind of defined specific budget, yeah, steal from pay-per-click for that. But I think it's so hard to determine when you are going to be able to spend. I would say, and again, this is a bit theoretical, but if you can generate clients at really, really low cost per client through LSAs, I would spend as much as you can right now because that is going away. And deal with the headaches.
You should.
Yes. Deal with the headaches that's going to create for your firm, right? But like make hay while the sun is shining, whatever you need to, whatever metaphor you need, use
make
that metaphor.
hay while the sun is shining.
There you
go.
That
should be on your website.
That's too positive for my website. Someone told me recently that I was really mean about saying smart lawyers don't hire law firms that trap them.
It wasn't me. I hope you didn't take my tongue in cheek.
No, that was hysterical. That was very funny. Well played.
No, yeah. I thought I was giving you credit because you did it the right way. You didn't say it outright. You implied it. It's very smart. Yeah. That's why you're the master marketer.
The master of offending the audience. No, this comes from I've seen this company before. It's an agency. Their slogan is something like making your stupid law firm smart. And I just thought that's a really interesting way to segment your market among people who are self-deprecating and feel like they're stupid.
Well, you know, I would like to flip it on to the to try to put it in a legal context, right? So it's like, don't be a dumb spouse when you're getting a divorce. Have you seen that? I mean, there's definitely fear-based legal marketing, right? There's fear-based legal marketing. Like, don't wait. Act now.
Yeah.
You see some of that?
FUD. That's yeah. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think in specific. Like great. Someone wrote back. Actually, it may have been Todd who wrote back. The Dummies books have sold really, really well. Right. And I think the whole point of the Dummies books is that's if you want to stumble your way through it by yourself.
Well, it's done also more tongue in cheek, right?
Yeah. But like, it's like the whole point of the Dummies books is like, it's not that hard and you don't need to know anything and it's not a really big deal. So here's a book that you can wobble your way through. If that's how you feel about the law and running your law business, maybe you should get a different job. Anyway,
Jason dropped Size Matters in the comments. For
Size Matters.
Your favorite law firm.
My favorite law firm, Size Matters. I will tell you this. I think the Morgan & Morgan Size Matters slogan is crass and gross, and it would not really do it for me. Having said that, it is brilliant. From a pure positioning and branding perspective, it is clever, it's memorable, and it leans into, at the risk of making the puns just too easy, it leans into their primary asset, which is their size. right?
Look, there's
And
tons of legal marketing that you might think is tasteless, and it kills in
and it
terms of
works. It kills. We've
business.
talked about this. Texas law hog, baby. All right. Next question, because this is a Q&A forum instead of me and Guy talking about size matters and tasteless stuff coming out of Texas. This is your question. I'm assuming this is from a client or someone else. Should I open an office near the centroid or population center or other? Guy, before we answer the question, can you please define the centroid?
Centroid is where the map machine believes is the geo coordinates for where they think of when they think of a location. So a city will have geo coordinates that if you typed in the city name and you zoomed all the way in on the map, it would zoom into a specific geo coordinate. And that in the past was used. In fact, Jason's here, so he'll have some comments on this. That was a very heavy signal. My attitude now, and people don't like this, but the answer is depends. We were just doing an analysis for a firm in Florida, looking to potentially open another office, and you're taking consideration, in my view, population data. So that matters where you're going to open the office. Remember, local pack tends to be super hyper local. So, in a populated area, you only might get results that are a mile away. And then you have the issue of if you're trying to do it in a very small, physically distant, so very close together physically distance from your main office, you've got cannibalization to consider as well. Now, some people will say, oh, well, you can get both listings to rank, and you can, but it doesn't happen all the time. And you might get, your practitioner page or other office location page that doesn't have all of the reviews end up ranking for a location that you've enjoyed good visibility for other locations. So I think you got to take in all of these factors, but I lean more on the population side of the house. But again, it's a big depends in there. And then, are you in proximity to a different state? What are the queries people are using? Are they city modified? Are they state modified? Are you trying to rank across state lines? Sometimes you'll see it's you're not you have to cross the state line, or you have to be in the city of location for it to work. So it's a lot to think about there.
I haven't seen the word centroid for a long time, and I thought it was a really interesting question to get, because my answer is specifically no on centroid. The nuance around centroid was it was where Google thought that kind of geographical nexus of that specific industry was. So let's walk outside of legal to talk about that. So, for example, car dealerships, right? Car dealerships tend to be centered outside of downtown because office space is expensive, but they tend to be clustered together. And so centroid was really around a kind of cluster of an industry. In legal, that cluster is typically either the downtown or in and around the courthouse, which is usually the same thing. The reason I would specifically avoid that, especially if you're opening, I'm assuming we're opening offices specific. I'm making the assumption that we're opening offices specifically to capitalize on local. And so my answer there is the worst place to do a new office is where everyone already is. And so I think the right answer to me is and this is a flip on the answer, because centroid used to be a really, really big deal. I flip on that now. There's no way on God's green earth I ever want to step into the hornet's nest and opening a new office when I'm going to be competing with people who've been driving reviews for that thing for the last 7 years. So to me, the answer on office location is I think there's really 3 primary things to think about. Number one, what does your potential for generating reviews look like? If you can generate 4 reviews a month where you open your new office and you want to be successful in local is different than if you're generating 40 reviews a month. It just is. And then you're looking at a combination of population center, an inverse relationship between population center and competition, meaning you're looking for a large population center with low competition. And then I would that's fundamentally where I would look. The other thing, and Guy, I'm going to ask a question for you. Yeah. And by the way, we forgot to say this. Ask us a question. I can't remember if I asked you this before. I think I have. Have you seen patterns with like local Falcon, for example, or just in your own research where bodies of water are a major impactor on your rankings?
Bodies of water, geographic boundaries.
I believe, and we should do it. I should publish that. We've got enough examples of this. I believe, and I've just seen this, I haven't read this anywhere, but having looked at this over and over again, if there's a body of water, Seattle and Bellevue are great examples. Seattle and Bellevue are, I think, 3 miles apart as the crow flies, but there's a huge lake in between them, and you have to cross the lake. If you're ranking in Seattle, you're probably not going to rank in Bellevue and vice versa, right? And so moving across a body of water can, even if it's very, very close, can often be a good way to expand your geographic footprint. Anyone else? Ask us a question. This is your opportunity to try and remember Stump the Chumps. Did you ever listen to Click and Clack? We're like Click and Clack of legal. You don't know Click and Clack.
I wish I do. I know Click and Clack. I love Click and Clack. R.I.P. to.
I know Ray.
Click or Clack, Ray.
I don't think either of them were actually
Tapper Brothers.
The Tappet Brothers.
Tap It.
Tap It, which is a car, illusion. What you got? Anyone? Hit us.
Anybody got a site they want us to look at? Video on GMB page. Love it. Go ahead, Conrad. What do you think of video on your GBP?
Hold on. I'm catching up to the comments and the questions in here.
The question is, what do you think about posting video on your GBP page?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't come up with a good reason why not to. We've known that, well, if you have a face for audio, is that what you're saying? What's your reason?
If you have a face for audio, even more reason you're going to get some clicks and views. Right?
That's kind of mean.
Look, seriously though, a lot of practice areas, people never hired a lawyer before. They're scared. They think the whole process is terrifying. They think lawyers are mean and nasty. And if you can, so someone that hears your name or is referred to you or just happens to randomly stumble across you from a non-brand query, a video there of you personalizes you, humanizes you. Who do you help? How do you help? Setting expectations, demonstrating your expertise in video. It's a very powerful medium for conversion, to motivate someone to call you. So I'm pro, and the thing I always tell people too, because everybody gets so obsessed about the, I'm going to try to convert somebody off a local pack. Most of the video stuff, most of the searches you're going to get, especially if you're not, one of these authoritative sites, they're going to be brand queries. And so someone's searching on your name. Talk to the person like it's their first impression of meeting you after they've been referred your name. And think about it in different stages of the funnel too. I think, think of top of funnel and think about people that might be, hey, if you're out there looking for different lawyers from this practice area in our area, here's some of the things that make us unique. That's what I have a
follow-up on your video question. This came up during our mastermind session yesterday. And the question was, so big fan of CRM systems. We've talked about them ad nauseum. I like the a set of follow-ups either through the sales funnel or during a matter, right? So we've now gone to this phase, right? We've now moved into the discovery phase. That's what this means. And you can have that as canned video, right? You can do that with BombBomb. You can do it with some of the CRM systems. So the question that I have for you, Guy, and I do not have an opinion on this, but this is you're a larger firm. You have a figurehead named Mary. Should those follow-ups right? Hey, you're moving into this phase of your matter. Should those follow-ups be from Mary, the name of the firm, or should it be from Bill, your specific lawyer who is working that case? It doesn't really take much extra effort to get all of your attorneys to do that, or do you want to have it much more genericized? What would you do?
This is another, it depends. It depends on how the firm's structured, but I think from an
Okay.
experience standpoint, the best thing to do is to be whoever's going to be the relationship person. That's the person who should be doing it.
Okay. I like it. I like that.
What do you think?
And I didn't have a really strong opinion, because the other part of it is like, oh, I've got Mary stepping into like it. I don't know. I don't have a really strong.
I would do a little of both. If you've
Cool.
got the
All
firm
right.
figurehead, I think, a welcome message from the leader of the firm. And then maybe maybe the leader does a message, an intro message, being like, hey, I know you're going to be working with so-and-so. You're in great hands. I've been working with them for a very long time. Just the same way you do a handoff in other contexts. But I think week in, week out, you're doing like weekly status updates or monthly status updates with clients. It's whoever you want, whoever your firm is designed to be the relationship person, in my opinion. That's because that's where the rubber meets the road with, making decisions on the matter. And you're going to be working in personal injury. You could be working with them for over years. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I mean,
we could do that as an agency too, right? Like, here's the update on where we are on building out your website. We've just moved into this phase and do that from the. Okay. Jason Brown, just so you guys know, Jason Brown weighing in on video and Google Business Profile is a good thing. I don't think either of us would disagree with that.
Well, I got one more reason for it. This is more,
cool.
I don't know if this is too tinfoily hat for you, but I believe engagement with GBP profiles matters, and video gets engagement. I think Google cares people are clicking around in your GBP listing. All
right. Let's see. Jason's going to come in with an opinion on that as well.
All tinfoil hat, Jason.
Next question, Mr. Lockwood. Or there we go. Or Allie. Here we go. I'll read this out in case you're just listening on audio. I'm wondering if I should start targeting Amherst business lawyer instead of Buffalo business lawyer, as everyone is going after that, recognizing this is pretty basic. So the beginning of the question was, are there any thoughts of being in the suburbs? I'm in the suburbs of Buffalo, but I'm in Amherst, Williamsville, technically. Okay. Let me restate this question. How do we handle being in the burbs, and what should we do from an SEO and a local SEO perspective to capitalize that? Or is it hurting you? I've got great anecdotes on this one.
Go ahead. Sure.
I'm waiting for you. I was gonna softball.
I have a different question. You got any evidence that any business lawyer query is generating actual clients for you? That's where I'd start. Figuring out the geomodify. If I'm going to focus on geomodify, these are the things I'd be looking at. How much does proximity matter to the potential client? If you again, I apologize, I don't know Amherst and Buffalo that well, but is someone that's in and again, I want to make sure I got this right. Should I start targeting Amherst instead of Buffalo? Are you in Amherst? If you're in Amherst,
saying I'm not sure why I said she. We've got MJ. I went with she automatically. I'm in the suburbs of. She's technically. I don't see that
part. I don't see that part.
I'm in Amherst, Williamsville, technically, right? So I think the question. This is an interesting question. Is the local performance based on keyword Amherst versus Buffalo, or is it based on lat long, like actual proximity?
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about, when we say targeting, are we talking about ads? Are we talking about local optimization?
So we should talk about both of those things, and we should talk about local versus organic, right? And so
not using any paid search, getting clients out of the city of Buffalo.
Okay, great. So
we have more. If we're talking about local pack, if
local and SEO. So I think the answer to these might be the answer to these is weighted differently. So go ahead.
I would do both. I would say I'd find a low cost way to, if your office is, remind me, the office is in Amherst.
The office is technically in Amherst, Williamsville,
How far
which are
is Amherst
suburbs
from Buffalo?
of Buffalo.
How far is it?
So this goes back to the lat long question.
Yeah. Is it far?
And why did you ask that question?
Well, I'm going to give you an area I'm more familiar with, even Detroit too, but Chicago. If your target audience is in Buffalo, and you want to be showing up for people who are searching, Chicago. If you want to show up for people that are searching in business or in Chicago, you got to have a physical office location in Chicago. Period. End of story. End of analysis. If you're like, look, Chicago or Buffalo are too competitive for me, then I'd be like, of course, open up an office in Amherst and optimize that office location in Amherst. And really, if you're like, if you have the resources to do both, then I would say, yeah, open up multiple offices. But you got the reviews issues and all that kind of stuff. But the big thing for me is this is what I'm not clear about. It sounds like currently they are getting clients from the city of Buffalo with a physical location in Amherst. Is that what
Google
you're
Business
reading?
Profile is in Buffalo. So I think
there you go.
Yep.
So I would say this: if you're in Buffalo and you're getting clients in Buffalo, great. If you want to be in Amherst, open up a physical office location in Amherst. But I wouldn't mess with the listing in Buffalo that's generating Buffalo business for you.
And you should know if that local listing is generating business for you or not. And
100%.
The follow-up here is like, no one's doing this well. If no one's doing this well and you're winning in Buffalo, game on. Like, plant the flag, own it, and just kill it while you can. What I don't like seeing, and I think this is unique because you are doing a lesser competitive market, right? We're not talking about family, we're not talking about criminal defense, we're not talking about personal injury. So you're in a lesser SEO competitive market. So like go like pillage Buffalo while you can. And
they're in Amherst, so they update in the comments. Their business profiles in Amherst. Not sure why they're getting stuff in Buffalo, and the answer might be that Conrad's point, the competition is low, and so they're pulling you in to the mix because they're like, we need to show more listings.
But so like game on, I would play this game as long as you possibly can, and I would never tell anyone what you're doing, right?
You just did.
Yeah, except for the loyal listeners to Legal Marketing.
Or Jason Brown.
So but I want to be really clear on this because I've had the complete opposite. I talked to a very successful, very quickly growing firm in the northwestern suburbs of Atlanta. Went out to their lovely office. They're growing. Everyone's excited. Their Google Business Profile is just killing it. And Jason says get to 10 Google Business Profile reviews ASAP because it's low competition, right? And you will like get to 10 and then go hire another lawyer. If that's
I was going to say the other thing is make sure you got UTM parameters tagged so you can see the search query data in Search Console, and that should inform some of your content strategy because now you're going to know, okay, this is what people are searching on, content on your site all day around those, whether it's regularly, frequently asked questions or if it's actually business lookup terms, but apply that same strategy to your website as well. And for queries that, you'll pick up more both with queries that are showing packs, but queries that are showing featured snippets, queries that are showing, non-local pack results.
So let me give the opposite answer for the much more common situation. The much more common situation is you're killing the suburbs and you're like, I'm going to go and win Atlanta because boy, oh boy, is this easy. And this goes back to my centroid comments earlier. Winning the suburbs is easy. I don't like the idea of going downtown because you're winning the suburbs. I would much rather you get suburb north, suburb west, suburb east, and surround it, as opposed to go.
Unless you can generate thousands of reviews.
Yeah. By buying them from Thailand, you're laying siege to downtown instead of trying to infiltrate downtown. This is incredible. Thanks, guys. You are more than welcome.
Made our day and my weekend.
You did make
Thank you.
our day.
Thanks for
And
showing
we have
up.
some
Appreciate it.
good content. All right. What else do we have? Anyone else? This is like free advice, man.
Yeah, free advice. Let's see
Jason
what else
says
we have
no
here.
fake reviews.
Yeah. I wish that was. Well, Jason says keep your fingers crossed. Something's coming. I don't know when, but something's coming.
By the way, your Dallas lawyer, we have a question for you. If you're still watching, did you end up buying the t-shirt cannon? I actually researched finding a t-shirt cannon and sending it to you, but they're like $800 for the one shot. And I was like, all right. I like our anonymous viewers, but not that much.
I was recently had a conversation with a lawyer. We were talking fake reviews. The lawyer had actually had an opportunity to discuss with the state attorney general this specific issue, and state attorney general totally on board, but nothing's happened. So I don't know. We'll see. And then, and again, I'm hoping that this FTC rule lands, so that there's a, but they said, I emailed the PR person from the FTC, no update. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Did they respond to you, or just say
they did?
You don't have anything to talk? They did. That's amazing.
We have no update. We said no update.
Okay, listen, they're responding.
Yeah, I got a media contact there. What else you got, Conrad? You got any questions? What's going on?
Oh, Jason does, and I've seen this number as well. $50,000 per fake review.
Right. That's if the rule goes through.
That's gonna hurt somebody.
And then I wonder if they're. And then so this is the other thing. Like they're gonna have. What are they gonna do? Be like, any review prior to this date, because you can't. You can't take them down.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this. What I asked you this last time, and you said you should abandon all of your fake listings. Good.
No, they're not gonna. Yeah, they won't do it retroactively.
All right, we've got another question, Adam. We got two good questions. Aside from getting reviews, what should I do if I don't have a competitive number of reviews? Aside from getting reviews, what should I do if I don't have a competitive number of reviews? I don't know who this is from. I will give you the generic answer to this question. I think you need to assess a competitive set, which is why I just said, like, don't go into downtown because you'll get killed and you'll never make it work. The ability to understand which levers you need to pull for local it's probably clearer in local than, with the exception of pay-per-click, any other digital marketing channel. I think that I can say that with a level of certainty. And so it's pretty easy for you to understand which markets you can go into and get a foothold, and which markets you should just never play in the same way that, like, I should never play in the NBA. So right?
Your answer is move to a place where your review number is competitive.
I didn't say move. I meant grow into. This is the centipede strategy, where, like, we're going to be additive. I would say, if you are the one place in which I would say move is if you are in downtown Chicago on West Wacker Ave and you want to win in local, you should move. Because you are the only place in
the United States.
With that one specifically, there are a couple others that might be out there.
If you're on the island, you're in downtown.
If you're on the island, go back to Long Island. Or like abandon local as a channel. Like
abandon local as a channel. I think that's the right thing.
I in many cases, in like SEOs will be like, oh, I can guarantee ROI in 6 months, and you're like, bullshit. You can't win local. By the way, I didn't swear during our last taping.
I know. I know.
I get a cookie for that.
But this is what
Yeah.
I would say abandon local pack, but you got to turn to traditional localized results. And this goes back to the top of the conversation. You got to be in Forbes. But seriously though, you should be, call it parasite strategy, call it barnacle. I prefer barnacle because I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you can get visibility on a site that ranks for a localized query that you're not paying an arm and a leg for, hopefully nothing, ideally zero, which, Reddit threads, Avo forum threads, Quora threads, you don't pay anything, you pay your time. But you show up, that's where you show up for localized traditional results, not in the local pack, because reviews aren't a thing there. There's no reviews. Now, if you're on a directory site that has reviews, that's going to be an issue still. But there are a lot of these sites that are showing up in localized, non-local pack results. It can work. The other thing I would do is I call them doorway pages, but doorway page strategy where you create service area pages on your site where you're like, we serve blah, blah, blah community. And here's what we love about blah, blah, blah community. And here's some data about blah, blah, blah community and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah community. That stuff ranks. It's similar to call it a directory strategy. I mean, to me, they're doorway pages, but they do rank. But you're out of you're abandoning local pack. The other thing too is that if you get a little more sophisticated and you can do this with Screaming Frog, or you can do it with I use Stat for this a lot, but track FAQ type question-based queries and see which ones throw featured snippets and see which ones throw non-local pack results, and then optimize content on your site for that. So there's a local play is what I'm trying to say. It's just not local pack.
Hey, Guy, you just put a question in my head.
Oh,
I have no data on this, but you're gonna have to give me a theoretical answer because I don't know the answer to this.
It's my favorite kind.
I'm thinking about Avo specifically, but there are other directories that added that Q&A function. When Avo added Avo Answers, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, and boy, oh boy, was I wrong, because it drove so much traffic and business, basically using the audience to generate content for you. Now that AI's out, and there's limited, if any, risk to the lawyer for barfing up a bunch of poorly written AI content on an Avo, for example. Do you think those kind of user-generated content sites that have a Q&A function have a potential really big problem with the quality of the content? Because
they do. This is the big joke. OpenAI, Google are training their AI off of Reddit. That was the big deal. And the presumption is that it's good training data because it's real people, and everybody that uses Reddit knows that that's total BS. So I can tell you that there are lawyers that are, or maybe not is the lawyer is the marketer, and people say it's the marketer. The lawyers would never do that. And like, I'm got to tell you something. You're totally wrong. There are lawyers that do this stuff.
So they're hiring the marketer. So
sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not, man. That's what I was just having this conversation there too. That was one of the most eye-opening things to me, is how black hat some of the lawyers themselves are. Nothing. They don't have a marketing agent. They're just doing it themselves. Anyway.
Wow, sounds like a doggy dog world, Guy.
Anyway, there's a lot of fake stuff in Reddit. Training data is not great, but having visibility in Reddit for relevant subreddits and being active in subreddit like for real, hugely valuable. Don't sleep on Reddit, folks. Don't sleep on Reddit. Don't fake it on Reddit. But if you think of Reddit as another social channel, and there's all sorts of stuff you have to go. You can go, like, you can spend a whole weekend learning how to use Reddit. But there's all sorts of things you can do to both identify subreddits you should be participating on. There's things you can do to your profile on Reddit to make your profile stand out. But Reddit can be a lead generation source, especially right now, while the discussion and forum stuff is so prominent in search results.
All right. Next question. Oh, this is for me. What is your favorite book on the shelf behind you? Watch me. I'm going to give you a non-honest answer, and then I'll give you a better answer.
It's going to be his book. Watch. It's going to be his book.
I really think Own the Map by Conrad Saam is a fantastic journey into digital marketing for the law firm. Thank you for that softball question.
Layup.
Yeah, I wrote this as it's kind of historical and it's funny. I also launched it specifically about using your office as an asset in your marketing mix right before COVID hit, in which case everyone left their office and it wasn't a asset as it was anymore. But I will tell you the book, the real
When's the
answer
updated edition come out? When's the updated edition?
I'm not ready. I just can't. It takes so much time.
I bet you there's some misinformation in there now.
It's probably somewhat dated. It was dated when it was published.
It's hard, man. That's why you should do. You should just have a digital edition of it and then just update it as stuff happens.
Well, I can't because I did it through the ABA, so I can't have a digital edition that
No comment. No comment.
Listen, I'll tell you something. When I was a kid, one of my goals in life was to get a book published, and I didn't. And when my friend, one of my closest friends from Michigan, I believe still runs the self-publishing arm at Amazon. And I didn't want to self-publish something because it was kind of an easy workaround. There are certainly people who claim to be amazing best-selling authors who have just published their own stuff.
Didn't even write the book. Guest author.
Didn't even write the book. Wow. We won't name names, but so I was very proud to get the ABA to write this. But the real answer to your question is there's a book by Harry Beckwith called Selling the Invisible, which is about marketing a service. I think every law firm should read it. It's a really easy read. I wouldn't read any of his other stuff because it's just a rehash of Selling the Invisible. It's an old book, but it's a great one. The other book that I really love up there is my Outdoor Emergency Care, which is it's a search and rescue and medical treatment for emergencies outdoors, and it's fun. So that's those are my two favorite books. Never thought I've read it.
And you should be proud of yourself. You should genuinely be proud of yourself for writing a book. That's a huge undertaking. Nice job.
It's amazing. I mean, this is not a big book. It's overpriced, I'll be honest.
And you're an amazing salesman for your book.
Listen, I'm all about being honest.
Look, your Dallas lawyer is going to buy it. You should send your Dallas lawyer a free copy.
You know what? Your Dallas lawyer, don't buy it. I will send you an autographed copy. I think you've got find me and send me your address. I'll send you a copy if you haven't bought it already. We're at time, dude. We got 2 minutes left. Yeah. Any pearls to drop before we're done? None.
I don't know. It's wild time right now. SERPs are going. I'm in the holding pattern for when all this stuff that's hitting everybody else is hitting legal, and it's just not yet. So that's good news. And other than that,
when the stuff's hitting legal, do you mean like SGE type stuff, or do you mean the FTC type stuff, or yes,
all of it?
Yeah. Okay.
I think this is I'm hoping that there's some changes that are going on with the review stuff, but look, again, I said this, or I posted this on Twitter, but Google's a remarkable company, no matter what happens here. But there's so much Google sycophantism, and it's so weird to me because how do you reconcile? We're doing all this stuff, we're spending all this money, we're deploying all these resources to reward great content, and Forbes directories, Forbes listing, and then legal directories, that's the best you got. And then you also see in the context of all the other publishers who are getting, just like real small publishers, just hammered by this. And they're like, what are you doing? We rate all of our own stuff and we think it's pretty good, and you're getting hammered. And so the dials there's a lot of flux going on. The dials are getting moved. And then again, we got AI overviews coming. So look, this is why we're fortunate to be in an industry that's constantly changing. So we always have something to talk about.
And we have a job. God help us. When those algorithms slow down, you and I are toast, buddy.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's the fact is a lot of firms and marketing agencies are going to be toast if they're not adapting to this stuff. I mean, that's the great equalizer, right?
Very true. So I think the specialty, the really focused agencies that do a thing really well, bad idea. Bad long-term strategic perspective, because it will go by the wayside.
And lawyers that have all their eggs in the Google basket also, be careful, folks. I would be focus on demand gen, build brand, get people to circumvent Google altogether. They be thinking about you when they need what it is that you do.
Dark social. He's saying
Boom.
dark social.
The dark social is a part of that plan.
We're out.
Have a great weekend, buddy. Thank you all for showing up. Really do appreciate it. Love the conversation.
Adam Alley, thanks for producing as always in the background. You guys are amazing. I may have to kick us out because